gets a 4% frequency bump to the P-cores turbo, and a 2.5% increase for the E-cores. So yeah, that's what we're looking at here. Actually, in addition to that, Intel is also claiming some software optimization for the 14th generation series, which for reasons that almost certainly won't make sense, aren't available for 12th and 13th gen owners. What Intel are calling Intel Application Optimization is a new policy within Intel's dynamic tuning technology that optimizes performance for select games by directing application resources in real time. As an example, Intel claims this leads to a 13% uplift in Rainbow Six Siege and a 16% uplift in Metro Exodus. As it stands right now though, Rainbow Six Siege and Metro Exodus are the only two games supported by this new feature, though Intel say they are working with game developers to add additional titles. Now, the Intel application optimization will preload via the Intel Dynamic Tuning Technology driver on motherboards that have DTT enabled in the BIOS. And given the very limited support for this new feature, we won't actually be testing it in today's video, as neither of the games that support it are included in our sampler benchmarks, but this is certainly something that we can test in the future, especially if it starts to support more games, as Intel claims. This then is Intel's attempt to steal back the gaming performance crown from AMD, and that really does appear to be the primary goal here with the 14th gen series, outside of the Core i7 getting a few more E-cores. So let's get on with it to see what they have. For testing, I'm using an Asus ROG Strix RTX 4090 graphics card, running Game Ready driver version 644.43, and all the data shown in this video was recorded within the last week. So that means all of the data is up to date using the latest BIOS revisions, Windows 11 version, drivers, and so on. The LJ1700 processors were tested using DDR5 7200 CL34 memory, and the AM5 processor DDR5 6000 CL30 memory. Okay, let's get into it. Starting with the Cinebench multi-core test, we find exactly what we're expecting based on the paper spec. The 14900K is, wait for it, identical to the 13900K, as both throttle to the same frequency after 10 minutes of load. The 14700K did offer a 19% boost over the 13700K, thanks to a 50% increase in boot cores, and that got it much closer to AMD's 7950X. Then we see the 14600K is 7% faster than the 13600K, and the small bump in clock speeds will be helping here, as this model doesn't thermal throttle using a 360mm AIO, so that's good. What's not good is the power consumption. And although we're going to take a detailed look at power usage when gaming, I'm going to go back and record the average power usage for the relevant CPUs in this video. The figures here are insane. The 14900K that averaged a total system consumption of 533 watts. That's almost 50% more than the 7950X for comparable performance, and nearly twice the power of the 7950X 3D, and a 92% increase for just 5% more performance. That really is insane. And the 14700K, it's really no better. Total system usage there, that averaged 471 watts, which is a 70% increase over the 7950X 3D, and that's for 6% less performance in that example. The 14600K system though, that did consume 310 watts, which makes it reasonably efficient when compared to say the 7700X, as that's 17% more power for almost 30% more performance. Now looking at single core performance, we do see a tiny 2% increase for the 14900K over the 13900K. The 14700K was 4% faster than the 13700K, and the 14600K was 3% faster than the 13600K, so about what you'd expect based on the clock speed that we looked at earlier. Now, running the Blender Open Data benchmark confirms what we found with Cinebench. The 14900K is basically identical to its 13th gen model. Then the 14700K with its extra E-cores is 24% faster than the 13700K, so that's nice. And really the only noteworthy improvement here, as the 14600K is just 6% faster than the 13600K. Moving on to the 7-zip compression performance, we find the Core i9s and Core i5s delivering virtually identical performance, while the 14700K was 17% faster than the 13th gen version. And it's a similar story for the decompression results. The 14900K was 3% faster than the 13900K, though the 14600K was 7% faster than the 13600K. Then we see a 23% increase for the 14700K over its 13th gen version, again thanks to the inclusion of more E-cores. Adobe After Effects provides the 1400K with its biggest win yet, as it was a whole 6% faster than the 13900K. So that's actually good based on what we've seen so far. The 14600K, that was 4% faster than the 13th gen version, and then the 14700K was just 3% faster than its 13th gen version, as the equals are pretty well useless here. Photoshop's another application that really only uses the P-cores, and here the 1400K was 14% faster than the 1300K, while the i7 was 6% faster than its predecessor, and the i5 7% faster. The last Adobe application we tested is Premiere Pro, and here the 14900K was just 3% faster than the 13900K, while the 14700K was only 6% faster than the 13700K. Then we see that the Core i5 was just as underwhelming, offering a mere 3% improvement over the 13th gen model. Now the last application benchmark that we have is a browser benchmark, so more of a general use type test, and the results here are pretty typical. The 14th gen i9 offered a mere 3% uplift, 5% for the i7, and then 7% for the i5. Now for the gaming benchmarks, and we'll start with Factorio. The Factorio box is the typical sort of Factorio benchmark